Hello guys, we are live. Hope you are doing well. Decrease the sound a bit. How was your day? It was a bit of a tired day. I had to bring the kitty to the vet. A checkup, everything was fine. Went to the gym, did a bit of walk. And now let's do the stream. Today is going to be quite fast. Every time I say it's fast, in fact it's not, but I have no choice and to wrap that up in around 1 hour because I have an appointment just after. So that let's get started. Today is about all the traps to avoid as we are following this week about your first job. Today is about all the potential traps you need to avoid for your first job, when you're looking for your first job. I don't want it to be a dark stream. This is like a word of caution. Because this industry is generally very nice, very serious and professional. But the moment when you are searching for your first job is probably the moment you are the most vulnerable in your entire career. Because you've been working so hard for so many years, so many months with your portfolio, learning software, going to art school and stuff like that. You are craving for that validation, that initial validation that is getting your first job. And even though most of the industry is kind of professional, if some malicious people are smelling that crave that validation by the first job, they might try to exploit that at their own advantage. So we're gonna go through the different examples of things not to do. This is not an exhaustive list. There are many ways you should not do. This is mainly the main traps, in my opinion. I've been through quite a lot of them, as I mentioned in my backstory, when I quit school and started working on that studio for free, without a contract, not having any kind of insurance. So let's say some accident happened there. My insurance is destroying me. Not getting paid, going to conventions for free to advertise for that shit. Having to legally sneak through the window at night to work during crunch. Having to bring my own stuff at the studio and all that stuff. So I got a bit vaccinated against those mistakes. Aside the working for free, which I redid once. I hated myself for that. The rest, I never got caught into this kind of bad stuff again. I never got trapped into it. I was able to smell that first. So, yeah, when you're looking for your first job, be very careful. The TLDR is when you're looking for your first job, every time some kind of random indie company is contacting you and telling you that you are so lucky you have been chosen for that great opportunity and they want to make you feel that it's a unique opportunity, they are really trying to sell you on something, be careful. They might be exploiting your desire to get that first job. So let's have a look at the different examples. Let's learn how to spot them, how to recognize those patterns, and how to avoid them. Basically to avoid them is just by saying no and being willing to walk away. It's exactly as we said yesterday. Being willing to walk away will save you from so many troubles. Like in the industry, being willing to walk away if needs be, without looking back, will save you from 99.9% of the trouble you might experience in the industry. that are at least exterior to you. So, the first thing I want to talk about is to read everything in the contracts, in the papers, and don't sign anything that you don't want. Might seem simple, but it's very important, because once you have signed a document, it's official and you have to stick to it. So if you have signed for 15 hours of unpaid overwork at night, you have to stick to that, and you don't want it. If you want it, that's fine. If you don't want it, make sure you do not sign for that. You either ask for revision of that, or you say no. I'm gonna give you a simple example right now that happened to me yesterday. I got a contract with Shiro Games to make some kind of artworks for them. Shiro Games is a small French company. They needed an artist in emergency for something. And in the contract, when they were mentioning the price, they were separating the first unit with the rest of the numbers. So instead of being around 3K, you might think, if you are French, that it would be 3.000 euro. So I was like, I don't want to get trapped. I don't want to be paid 3 euros for that amount of work. So I just asked that person, hey, can you make a revision and remove that comma in between? This way there's no misinterpretation possible. And I'm not assuming they would have been shady. They're pretty nice persons. But if the person was a bit shady and malicious, this person could have been saying, hey, we only need to pay you 3 euros. Because it's in the contract. There's that comma. It's not for the dozens, the hundreds, and the units. It's for the decimals. So maybe I have dodged a huge bullet right there. I don't know. But basically, don't sign a pact with the devil. And make sure that you understand everything that you are reading in the contract. It's long. It's intimidating. But you really, really need to make sure that everything is clear. Don't sign if something is different from what you have agreed upon. Because once you have signed, it's over, it's done. So if you have someone in your family, in your acquaintances that is a bit in the law enforcement department, like a lawyer, a jurist, something like that, if that person is benevolent to you, ask that person if he or she can help you reading that stuff and understanding everything that it involves. So this is the first thing. If there is something different from what you have agreed upon with the AR, HR, or the client, mention that as an email. Tell them that, hey, it's kind of different from what we agreed upon. Can you change that to match what we originally discussed? And generally, they can't really argue against that. The first thing I want to talk about after that is NDAs. So non-disclosure agreement. Basically, everything you do, you keep that secret. You don't display it on internet. You don't show it to people. You don't talk about what you have done for the company until there is a green light. That is like an official document that has been published by the company and send it to you. First of all, don't break an NDA. That's as simple as that. Even though you're working on a crazy good project and you want to talk about it to everyone, don't break the NDA. You might get into so much troubles for breaking that. Some people went to jail, got crazy 6-figure fines for that. Don't play with NDAs because if it's broken, you are dead. Your carry is over and you're fucked. But in the NDAs, you need to be very careful about one detail. You make sure that if there is a breach of confidentiality within the company and you are not responsible for that, make sure that the company cannot turn back on you just because you signed the NDA. I've seen some companies doing NDAs like, hey guys, if we have just one leak, we can basically sue all of our employees, and you are even if you are not responsible for the leak, and we will crush you in court because you just signed for it. I'm assuming that people fought for these kind of things not to happen anymore. So it might be nice to respect that and to respect ourselves. So if you see something like that, it happened to me with few Chinese clients. You absolutely need to tell them, hey, I'm not signing for that. If I'm responsible for the leak, yeah, of course, destroy me. But if I'm not responsible, there's no way you can turn your back on me just because you can. Because it would be so easy to like manufacture a leak and then sue every employee and ask them for crazy amount of money that they don't have. But NDAs are generally pretty easy. Generally, you can summarize them by don't disclose any information about the project you are working on, not even the code work, don't share your work, and wait for a potential green light allowing you to show it, which is totally fine. Sometimes, I say, it happened to me quite a lot with some Chinese clients. NDAs can put some crazy stuff in it. So if you find something that tingles your spider sense and you are telling yourself, wow, this is kind of hardcore, be sure to clarify that with the client. Be sure that you know exactly what you are signing for. And if you don't like it, don't sign it. Or ask for a revision. I know that I've talked a bit about the fact that when you're a junior, you need to comply or goodbye. But hey, an NDA can drag you to hell if you not read carefully. And as long as you are not disclosing the stuff, you should not be responsible for anyone else's mistakes. So in that case, you have the right to stand up for yourself. Because again, you still need to stand up for yourself a bit if one of those boundaries, which is the case right now, is pushed too far. So if something is shady, ask the HR or ask the client to remove that line or change it. And if they refuse, well, don't sign it. Or else if you sign it, you know what you are engaging yourself for. I know that NDAs are legal and legal documents are super intimidating. They sound very aggressive, like, hey, this is what will happen to you if you do this. It's very intimidating. Plus, there is the legal vocabulary that adds to the cold character of those texts. That's why having an acquaintance working in law is definitely helpful. The next point is a non-competition clause. This one is generally simpler than NDAs generally. It's like, hey, don't ask anyone in the company to work for you for a given amount of time, and don't send application to other companies for as long as you work with us. And in general, this is fine. But some companies are making you sign things like, hey, even 6 months after you finish your contract with us, you are not allowed to ask any company out. And this is unacceptable. Another thing that is completely unacceptable is that if you are in freelance and not working full-time for that company, not being allowed to work for other clients at the same time. If you are working full-time as a freelancer there, that's fine. If you are not working full-time, which is very rarely the case, this is rarely the case that you're working full-time, let me correct that, you must be allowed to ask other clients out, to be closing with other clients and stuff like that, because that's your way of earning money. But some companies are very paranoid about that. And again, if you see something like that, that's not acceptable. Let's say you are working as a salary person in your company. For 6 months after you have finished, you are not allowed to work for anyone else. What are you doing? So, yeah, if you are a freelancer juggling between different clients, this is a real problem, and you must absolutely not sign a document with such a statement. At least if you are working on at least if you are planning on working with different clients at the same time. Again, there are no rules set in stones for non-competition clause or NDAs. It's case by case. That's why it's so important to read them carefully and make sure that everything is crystal clear before signing it. Next one is about payment. This is mainly for freelance, especially with non-professional clients, but it still applies for professional clients. But let's split it in two parts. If you are working with non-professional clients, like people who want some D&D art or some illustration for their books or stuff like that, you must absolutely ask for an advance payment of at least 30%. This is first to get you protected, because at least you have some money. Secondly, this is to get the client engaged and involved in the process. And also to make sure that the client is signing the contract too. Do not deliver the piece to a non-professional client before getting the rest of the money. And if the client refuses to send you 30% in advance or even 50%, don't feel ashamed to refuse to work with them. Because if they argue about a simple process of trusting you enough to pay you 30% in advance and then trusting you, if they argue against that, if they are bad about that, guess what? It means that they would act very badly then. So it might not be worth working with them. So don't feel ashamed to refuse to work with them. This is with small clients or people asking you illustrations. Or of course, if you're working with big companies or professional clients, you will have a contract. Everything will be part of the contract. So both of the parties have to respect that. Because sometimes, again, with Chinese clients, for example, it takes a lot of time for them to unlock the money and then to send it. So sometimes when I'm working for Ndas, for example, it takes up to 6 to 9 weeks before getting paid. So it's kind of strange at the beginning. You need to acknowledge that and deal with that on a financial standpoint. But it's part of the contract and the money is arriving. A lot of companies are like, in the contract, they are willing to pay you within 30 days. This is not to wait till the end. This is just because they are generally paying everyone the same day of the month. And let's say you finish 2 days after that day, you just need to wait 1 month. That's why there is a 30-day delay. Just for the payment, again, the TLDR is make sure you have a contract. And if you don't, if you're working for just persons, make sure you get an advance payment to make sure you have at least money. Keep the work hostage till you get the rest of the money. If the client is arguing against that, just ditch the client. The next one is big. And when you are looking for a first job, you would be 100% sure that you would be facing those kind of stuff. This is basically, hey, we are an indie studio. We are waiting for financing. We are waiting for some money. Maybe we'll do a Kickstarter or something like that. And you are very lucky because we have selected you to work on our project. And this will give you experience, exposure. And once we have money, we will pay you. Avoid that like the plague. No joke. When you are looking for a first job, people know that you desperately want to join a project and a team, and that you are striving for that kind of validation that getting a job represents. However, some studios are trying to play on that last aspect to get you working for free in order to get fundings for their project. Generally, those peoples, they are the ones contacting you, and the emails generally read as follow. Hey you, we really liked your work. and we would like to grant you the chance to work on our big upcoming project that nobody knows about. We are currently setting things up to get funding through whatever online platform like Kickstarter or Indiegogo or whatever. So everyone is working with their passion to make this happen. Please join us. Please, don't fall for that. This is a trap. You see that all the time at every level of your career. Don't fall for that. They are trying. If they are trying again and again, it means that it works. Just tell yourself that basically this is a complete waste of time. And by you working for free through them, you are basically sacrificing your time, which you'll never get back. And which you could use to work on your dreams, which is like making your portfolio, applying to other companies, getting better, or other aspects of your life. You're basically sacrificing your precious time that you will never get back to make someone else's dream come true instead of yours. These people are basically energy and time vampire, and there is no money. So basically, as there is no money to act as a structure for the quality and quantity of work, they will tend to ask you for ridiculous amount of work and details. Let me tell you a story about that. When I left school, I left in order to, quote-unquote, work in an industry that was working on the game. These guys were waiting for a Kickstarter and always promising us that the Kickstarter would start next month and that we would get paid. Eventually, the Kickstarter happened 6 months after I left, and after I lost 3 months of my time working there for free all day long during the summer, crunching at night because the studio lead was able to persuade us very well that this project was going to be big, and we believed it. Because the studio was noticed by Square Enix and sent us to E3 2016 to show the game at a moment where a big presentation was happening, so nobody heard about it. But this guy was always telling us that if we left, we would miss a huge opportunity. There was like fear of missing out. Eventually, the studio made 100k on Kickstarter, and 5 years later, so still up to today, the game is still not released. Nobody cares about it except maybe 2,000 people following them on Twitter, which is maybe, if you have like a 5% conversion rate, that's like, well, it's like 40 people. No, that's like 100 people buying the game. That's nothing. Basically, nobody cares about them. When I left, I basically swore to myself to never work again for free. And last year, when I finished my mentorship for JAMA and released my work, there was a guy with a very, very prestigious resume. Working for being an ex-employee of one of the biggest companies in the world. He contacted me for a project. And it was the same thing. He was offering me a chance to work on his big project alongside some big names of the industry. He was calling me super big names of concept artists that were supposed to work on the project. I was very impressed. And because I was kind of tired at the time, and in between some job and crunching a bit and looking for a lot of money, I accepted to do 2 pieces for that guy. 2 weeks after, when it was time to start, I was like, wait a minute, we didn't discuss the price. My bad. And then I heard he had no money. Even worse, as I was still too nice of a person at the time, I told him, well, let's let it pass and for these 2 pieces, and basically drove me to a freaking nightmare. 9 days of work, full 9 days for free. This guy was asking me for changes all the time at crazy hours. Even in the weekend, he was contacting me on Facebook instead of sending me emails. So I was kind of afraid of connecting on Facebook because that guy might be sending me messages. He was assuming I was always available. And it was for freaking free. If he was paying like 500 or 600 euros per day, it would have been fair. But also, if he was paying me, it would have been way more concise and precise in his feedback. Instead of telling me, hey, we need to feel the story a bit more in that picture. We need to feel it's harsh and stuff like that. What does that mean? Just do fucking paint over to explain me what to do. So this guy was definitely not respecting my time. Because there's no money to structure. Basically, the more you ask, the more you get respected. If you are asking for 500 euros per day, the client would be way more serious, like, oh my god, it's a lot. Spoiler alert, it's not, but let's assume it's a lot. So we need to be very precise and concise in the feedbacks of that guy. Otherwise, this guy will keep walking and walking for nothing, and we will have to pay him more. We don't want to pay that much, because remember the rules of the game. The company or the clients wants your work was little, wants as much as of your work for as little money as possible. And you want the exact opposite. You want as much money as possible for as little work as possible. So if they are paying you a lot, they don't want to spend more. So basically, they do their best to make you work efficiently. This includes feedbacks. If you're asking for very few money, they don't care. They can squeeze you. And if there's no money at all, there's no structure. There's no time limit. They're like, hey, let's squeeze that guy and let's have the perfect picture, which never happens. In the end, one day, I was so pissed that I was a bit afraid at the time of that guy's name and resume. So I was feeling a bit trapped. So at some point, I'm not proud of that, but that's how I escaped that. While avoiding the confrontation, basically. I didn't want to let that guy down. Because I was like, hey, let's let it pass for those two pictures so I cannot engage myself into that shit. But judging by the fact that he was so disrespectful and I hadn't the guts to tell him, hey man, just do me proper feedback so I'm out. I'm working for free, but please respect my fucking time. What I did is that one day, he was giving me a feedback. I think I got what he wanted me to do. I did the exact opposite. And I was like, hey man, I was like sending you a message like, hey man, I think there's definitely something bigger as a problem in the picture. And we are just trying to stick with the sunk cost fallacy. We're trying to save something that needs to be redone from scratch. And I knew he would not really like that term. But at least it would be polite enough to tell him, hey, you're asking for too much right now. You don't know what you want. And I don't really know the direction of the picture and stuff like that. I don't really understand the intentions. And the guy was mad. I was like, well, this is not going to do well together. Just by calling it done doesn't mean it's done. Don't do that to me. It doesn't work with me and stuff like that. I was like, bingo. Exactly what I wanted. I just wanted that guy to lose his calm. Because that guy was weird. No emotion when talking. I'm sorry, this guy was a psychopath. That was my radar like, oh, this is bad. This is bad. This guy is not... He's barely blinking. There's no emotion. He's not smiling. Even when I try to break the ice, he's not smiling. He's not getting comfortable. He's getting very cold. Psychopath. So I was just waiting for an opportunity for him to snap. I was like, dude, do not ever snap in front of me ever again. I'm out. I was just waiting for him to make a mistake, but I'm not proud of that. And honestly, I was so pissed. I was feeling horrible at the time because I was like, I had forsaken myself again. I swore to myself to never work again for free, and I got trapped by that fucking asshole again. It was another person, but it was the same profile. That guy on that in this studio in 2016, psychopath. This new guy, psychopath. You recognize them because they are very, very talented at not convincing you. Convincing someone is with logic and arguments. This guy is able to persuade you with emotions, fear of missing out, making you hyped, stuff like that. And those guys, this is like an almost an archetype. The narcissist pervert, but they are very high on the psychopathic trait, which is almost no emotion. So even when you are trying to break the ice, if there is no emotion, do not assume it's obviously a psychopath, but keep that it might be. And then if you have other clues, like this guy is losing his kind of very easy, acting a bit like a bully when things don't go their way, stuff like that. Psychopath. And you need to be careful with that. Again, it's all about boundaries. And this guy, I did not establish proper boundaries at the time. I was pushing. And I was fearing to walk away because this guy has a huge list of names of big companies in his resume. And I was like, this guy will wreck me, will blacklist me and stuff like that. So I was so afraid of that. And yeah, at some point he pushed it too far and I was like, okay. Instead of confronting that guy because I'm too small, and I don't want to get blacklisted. But it was in my head, it was anxiety. He would have probably have never blacklisted me, would have forgotten me and tried to suck other people out of the time and energy. It was in my head, it was anxiety. Playing devil's advocate. You see how it goes back to previous videos? So I was just looking for an opportunity to make him snap. And this was my escape way. So it was just my green light to escape. Like, haha, exposed. You snapped. You're getting a bit scary right now. I don't want to work with someone that disrespects me like that. That try to gaslight me. Distort the things I'm saying. I'm out. But yeah, be careful about that, about people asking you to work for free because they will absolutely disrespect your time. In order to work on my my course that I'm working on right now, I've been watching a lot of other courses about what I want to do. And one of the guys, it was one of the biggest robbery of my money and time that I've ever seen, even though it was on sale. Instead of 200 euros, it was like 14 bucks, so you know it's shit. But one of those guys who is definitely not someone working in the industry, is just a business guy trying to explain artists how to get a job in the industry. At some point, he was giving to in his course a letter archetype to ask companies to work for free, because apparently for him, working for free in a company was the way to get experience and get a foot in the door. And I was like, dude, this is the worst thing you can do as a person. You're wasting your time, you're wasting your money, you're wasting your energy, you're gonna get crushed. Not work for fucking free. If you're working for free, you do that with friends on a common product that you have. You do that for your portfolio. You do that for your loved ones and stuff like that, but you don't work for free for someone making money out of you working for free. Simple as that. If you are struggling, saying no to those kind of offers. There's a question recently, how do you decline a client's offer? You can read 2 books. One book is called No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert A. Glover, I guess. The second book is called When I Say No, I Feel Guilty. I don't remember the name of the author, but the name of the book is When I Say No, I Feel Guilty. Read those two books. We'll get completely immune to those kind of guys, and we know how to tell no in an assertive way, you know, to establish your boundaries. I should have talked about those books yesterday. I completely forgot. But you know the names now. And this is also about how to establish healthy boundaries to not get people to step on them. And to potentially abuse beyond your boundaries. This guy, I should have told him, dude, it's 500 euros per day. No weekend walk. No crunch time. You don't send me messages on Facebook. My working hour is 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Beyond that, or before that, I'm not answering to you. I'm not even reading. So don't expect me to read. And if the feedbacks are messy, that's your fault. So I'm asking for more money. This is going to be 700 per day. First of all, this guy would have said no. Worst case scenario, best case scenario, this guy would have said yes. At least he would have respected my time and giving me proper feedbacks and paint overs. Instead of telling me, you know, this environment is harsh. We need to feel the harsh character of that environment and the pressure, the social pressure of the characters right now in that society.
If you just shut the fuck up for 30 seconds, you might learn something.
The rule of thumb, basically, is that if someone contacts you and tries to tell you that you're lucky having been chosen to be part of their thing, and that there is no money but that it can be a big bet, you just look at them, you smile, turn, and you walk away. You run. Without any regret, and you don't look back. I'm pretty sure this guy is having a studio and he's probably financed now, but I don't care. I don't care. Because at the time it was shady. When someone asks you for your time, this person is basically asking you for a chunk of your life that you will never get back. And seen that way, no one would like to give a chunk of his or her life for free. Time is so precious. It's the most precious asset that you have. Regardless if you are rich in money or not, we all have the same amount of time available. And no money in the world can buy you back the time that you have already spent. So when you are working for free for someone, you are basically sacrificing a chunk of your life. If someone else realizes his or her dreams with no retribution for you. You're basically setting yourself on fire to keep other people warm. Do not do that. Do not work for free or for experience or for exposure. Focus on your dreams. Sacrificing your time and energy for someone else's dream for free is like setting yourself on fire to keep other people warm. I will never tell that enough. Finally, the last thing, to get a bit on the lighter tone, is basically to not get complacent. Let's say you get your first job. Remember that you must always do your best at your job. You are probably starting with a test period, like a trial month, or maybe a month or two. So your job needs to be 100% secure. This is not yet. And still, if you want them to keep hiring you, renew a contract, if you want to grow, get better paid, you still need to do above expectations. Second of all, do not think that the thing that you are starting to work with, let's say you are doing environment design first, do not think it will obviously, inevitably be the only thing that you will do for your entire life. Once you're back home, you have time to learn. Once you're at the company, you have time to learn. So with time, you can transition from environment to character, maybe. You just need to be good enough. So it's just up to you to grind enough to reach that. Also, remember that the first job is just an entrance door towards your dream goal. We said there is no dream product, but we still have some kind of achievement and product that we would really like to work on. It's still a goal. Just must not persuade ourselves that this is the only thing that might be a dream goal for us. Aside from it, it's still a goal. And this is fine if it's a dream. Chasing dream is fine. Do not think it's just the only one available and that there is nothing else around that. And remember that your first job is just an entrance door. You need then to do the next steps. Switch to another company, and to another, as we mentioned previously in a previous video. This is just part of a plan, so don't get stuck, don't get complacent in that job. And do that for 5 years. You need to move on then. And finally, 2 things. Don't forget to focus on other parts of your life. Because now that you have been grinding for years, you got your first job, this is cool. You can now focus on other aspects of your life. Not just chill at home. But there is something fantastic. It's that once you are back home, you don't have any homework anymore. You have free time to do stuff. So focus on other aspects of your life a bit. To have a healthy lifestyle. Also, last thing. Even if you have a full-time job and no student loans, do not burn all the money that you get. Do your best to accumulate a bit of wealth in order for you to not fall in debt and to have financial safety. We're going to have a presentation about money at some point. This is going to be a harsh one. But yeah, money is important. If you want to prepare yourself for that and you have a bit of time and like $10 available for the weekend, you can read or listen to You Need More Money by Matt Manero. This will prime you for that presentation that will happen maybe next week. I don't know. We'll see. Do your best to basically live decently, but not buy expensive furniture. Do not buy a big ass apartment yet. Do not buy a car unless you absolutely need one, but don't buy an expensive car. Try to live decently, but in a modest way. Do your best to save a bit of money and build a safety net of maybe 6 months worth of salary and income before considering pleasing you and treating yourself a bit above what you are actually doing. But of course, you can have some drinks with buddy and stuff like that. You deserve that. This is actually good to have this kind of pleasures now that you can afford them. But don't burn all your hard-earned money. Build a safety net first. At least 6 months. Let's say you break your hand, you cannot work for 6 months. You need to have that safety net just in case something bad happens. This will help you sleep better at night. Instead of asking yourself, oh my god, I only have 20 euros on my bank account at the end of the month. How am I supposed to pay my bills on next month? Please avoid that. This is horrible, and people who already experience this kind of anxiety, you know exactly what I mean. This is horrible. So yeah. The last point that is a bit of an impromptu is probably to not forget to produce art for yourself. Because what you will do at work is very different from what you are doing for yourself. So don't forsake your comfort zone, your small universe, your IP that you might be working on. And now that you have free time, once back home, this might be time to spend a bit on it. And to develop it day after day after day. because this is probably what motivated you first to get into that industry. So don't forsake that. All right. 48 minutes, that's fine. Nice. Unless there are any questions. I have not seen a single message in the chat, which is fine. It's Thursday. It's student day when people are going out, so that's fine. So, usual chat for the YouTube replay. Feel free to subscribe. Feel free to join us on Twitch to interact with us live. Ask your question. Feel free to join the Discord down below to join the community. And if you want to support me, aside from the financial aspect, which you can, don't hesitate to recommend the channel and the Twitch link and the Discord and stuff like that to some people around you that you think might benefit from that. To some people that need to learn those kind of stuff. They have like good portfolio, but they are unable to find some jobs for whatever reason. They're a bit lacking self-confidence. They want to change career. They want to get a job in the industry. Send them to the Art Nest. We'll hatch them into professional artists. Anyways, thanks a lot for watching, guys. And see you next time. Take care.